Today's lesson is on ratios. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities using division. First, we'll look at writing a ratio. So for number one, we want to write the ratio of pennies to quarters in three ways. So first, we need to count the number of pennies and the number of quarters. So first, pennies. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now let's count the quarters. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now let's write the ratio in three ways. One way to write a ratio is by using a colon. Since pennies is listed first in our problem with the ratio of pennies to quarters, we'll write the 5 first because that represents pennies. Then we'll write a colon, and then we write the number of quarters, which was 8. We read this as 5 to 8. We can also use the word to, T-O, to write a ratio. So we'll start with our number of pennies, which was 5. We'll write the word to, T-O, and then we write the number of quarters, which was 8. So we read this as 5 to 8. The third way to write a ratio is by using a fraction. The number of pennies would be in the numerator because it's listed first, so we have a 5, and then our denominator would be the number of quarters, which is 8. Again, we read this ratio as 5 to 8. For number 2, we're going to write the ratio of quarters to the total number of coins in three ways. From the previous problem, we know that the number of quarters was 8. We also know that we had 5 pennies. So if we want to know the total number of coins, we need to add the 8 and 5, and we would get 13. So the total number of coins is 13. Now we'll write this ratio in three ways. So again, the first way we talked about was using a colon. Since quarters is listed first, we'll write the 8 first, and then we write our colon, and then we write the 13. The second way was by using the word to, T-O. So we'll write the 8 for the number of quarters, the word to, and then our total number of coins, which was 13. So 8 to 13. And our third way was by using a fraction. The number of quarters, 8, would be in the numerator, and the total number of coins would be in the denominator, which was 13. Again, we read this fraction as 8 to 13. Now let's look at writing and simplifying ratios. So for number 3, we're going to write the ratio of boys to girls at Oak Grove in simplest form. So if we look at our table, we'll see that the number of boys is 600, and the number of girls is 540. If we want to write the ratio of boys to girls, boys would be first, so we need to write our 600 first. And then we can write the number of girls. We'll go ahead and write this ratio as a fraction because we want to simplify it. So we'll go ahead and write the number of girls, which is 540. Now we'll go ahead and simplify our fraction. We can divide both the numerator and the denominator by 60. When we divide 600 by 60, we get 10. And when we divide 540 by 60, we get 9. So our ratio of boys to girls at Oak Grove is 10 to 9. What this means is that for every 10 boys, there are 9 girls at Oak Grove Middle School. For number 4, we're going to write the ratio of boys to the total number of students at Oak Grove in simplest form. So first we need to find out the total number of students. There are 600 boys, and there are 540 girls. So we need to add these two numbers up to get our total. So 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 4 is 4, and 6 plus 5 is 11. So our total number of students is 1,140. So if we want to write a ratio of boys to the total number of students, we write boys first, so 600, and then our total number of students is 1,140. For this problem and the previous problem, I used the fraction method of writing our ratio. You could write the ratio using the other two ways as well and still be able to simplify, but we'll go ahead and use the fraction for this one again. So now we can go ahead and simplify. We can go ahead and divide both the numerator and the denominator by 60. When we divide the numerator by 60, 600 divided by 60, we get 10. And when we divide the denominator by 60, we get 19. So our ratio is 10 to 19. So this means that there are 10 boys for every 19 students at Oak Grove Middle School. Two ratios that describe the same relationship are equivalent ratios. So now we're going to look at writing equivalent ratios. So write two equivalent ratios for the given ratio. So for number 5, we have 4 to 8. When we're writing an equivalent ratio, we can either multiply both of the numbers to get an equivalent ratio, or we can divide both of the numbers. When we multiply or divide, we have to multiply both numbers by the same thing, or we have to divide both of them by the same thing. So let's go ahead and multiply. Let's go ahead and multiply both of these by 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. And 8 times 2 is 16. So I can multiply both the 4 and the 8 by 2, and I get an equivalent ratio of 8 to 16. I can also divide 4 and 8. I could divide both of them by 4. This would actually put it in simplest form. So in the previous problem, we looked at fractions in simplest form, but you can also write ratios that use a colon in simplest form. So let's divide both of them by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. So 4 to 8 would also be equivalent to 1 to 2. There are many other equivalent ratios that we could have put for this problem. These are just two examples. Now let's look at number 6. For number 6, our ratio is 3 to 7. This one is written as a fraction. So we'll go ahead and write our answers as fractions. We cannot divide 3 and 7 by the same number, so we cannot use division to help us find an equivalent ratio. We'll need to use multiplication. So let's multiply both of these by 2. 3 times 2 is 6, and 7 times 2 is 14. So 6 to 14 is an equivalent ratio. Let's go ahead and multiply both of them by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And 7 times 3 is 21. So 9 to 21 is an equivalent ratio. Now for number 7, we have 5 to 20. So for 5 to 20, we can use either multiplication or division. Let's go ahead and use multiplication first, and let's multiply by 2. 5 times 2 is 10. And then we'll use the word 2. And then 20 times 2 is 40. So 10 to 40 is an equivalent ratio. We could also use division because we could divide both of these by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. And 20 divided by 5 is 4. So we have that the ratio be 1 to 4. 1 to 4 is actually in simplest form. So again, you don't just have to use fractions, the fraction method, when you're trying to put them in simplest form. You could put any of them in simplest form. Also, for each of these problems, I just gave you 2 equivalent ratios, but we could do many equivalent ratios for each of these. Now let's look at comparing ratios. So for number 8, you catch 18 out of 24 passes. Your teammate catches 21 out of 30 passes. Who has the greater catch ratio? So let's look at you. You have 18 out of 24 passes. So let's go ahead and simplify this ratio. We can divide both the numerator and the denominator by 6. 18 divided by 6 is 3. And 24 divided by 6 is 4. Now, we can go ahead and convert this into a percent. So 3 to 4, we can go ahead and divide. We have 3 divided by 4. 4 cannot go into 3, so we'll put our 0. Now we add our decimal and our 0. Bring our decimal straight above. And then 4 goes into 37 times. 7 times 4 is 28. We're going to subtract. And 10 minus 8 is 2. We can go ahead and add our 0 and bring it down. And 4 goes into 25 times. 5 times 4 is 20. And we're left with 0. Now we can convert 75 hundredths into our percent. We can do this by moving our decimal 2 places to the right, so 1, 2, and that would give us 75%. So if you catch 18 out of 24 passes, you caught 75% of your passes. So now let's look at your teammate. Your teammate catches 21 out of 30 passes. First, let's simplify. We can divide both of these by 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. And 30 divided by 3 is 10. So we have 7/10. We know that we can also write 7/10 as a decimal, and that would be 0.7, because that's 7/10. We already have this in a decimal, so now all we have to do is convert it to a percent. We'd move our decimal 2 places to the right, so 1, 2, and then we would have 70%. So if your teammate catches 21 out of 30 passes, your teammate caught 70% of their passes. Now we need to answer the question of who has the greater catch ratio, and that would be you, because you had 75% where your teammate only had 70%.